Hello, thank you for joining me today. My name is Andrew. I'm a dietetic intern, and I would like to go over the basics of mindful and intuitive eating with you. So here are the objectives. So by the end of the seminar, you will be able to define mindful and intuitive eating and know what the benefits are to those. We will also go over the connection between mindfulness and intuition. And throughout the seminar, I will also be going over strategies so you will be able to incorporate mindful and intuitive eating into your daily life. I will address potential challenges and concerns with mindful and intuitive eating. And overall, I would really like to encourage a healthier relationship with food and yourself. Okay, so let's begin. Starting with mindful eating. So what is mindful eating? Well, first, I think we should discuss what mindfulness is. And that is the intentional focus and awareness of one's thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations in the present moment and embracing them. So mindfulness, when applied to eating, would be a focus on how we are eating and not really what we eat. It's more behavioral. So how it works involves eating slower and more deliberately, avoiding distractions while eating, and eating foods that are both pleasing and nourishing. It's an eating experience where we take the time to enjoy food and be present in the moment. It also involves attention to what foods we're choosing, internal as well as external physical cues, and how we respond to those cues. Overall, the goal is to promote a more enjoyable meal experience. We should practice mindful eating because there are many benefits to practicing mindfulness, which I will go over soon. And in a few moments, I would like to practice a mindfulness activity that you can revisit while you're eating or to keep in mind for the next time you're having a meal. So there are many benefits to engaging in mindful eating. For one, engaging in any form of mindfulness, such as meditation, offers stress relief and psychological well-being. So mindful eating offers the benefits of improved eating behaviors. So the opposite of mindful eating, often called mindless or distracted eating, occurs when we eat when we're working, driving, or watching TV. That's all associated with anxiety, overeating, and weight gain. So other benefits include improved hunger and satiety awareness. And satiety, that's the feeling we get when we're full. So we get increased food satisfaction and pleasure since we are more engaged and present with what we're eating. When we eat at a slower pace, we are less likely to overeat and feel full sooner. There is a decreased likelihood of emotional eating as mindfulness allows us to react to our emotions in a positive way that does not involve food. We get a decreased response to external food cues, so we are less likely to eat something that is in our presence. This means that through mindfulness, we can learn to distinguish between emotional and physical hunger cues. We also see that there's a maintenance of a healthy fasting blood glucose. There's a study that found that for a group of individuals who engaged in mindful eating, they were able to maintain a healthy fasting blood glucose compared to the other group who did not engage in mindful eating. They ended up actually with a higher elevated fasting blood glucose level. And then another benefit we see with mindful eating is weight maintenance. So when we become more mindful of our body's needs, we can eat what our bodies need by listening to our natural cues to stop eating when we've had enough. All right, so let's practice mindfulness with a little exercise. And this exercise of mindfulness can be done throughout our days. So we can engage in mindfulness by taking a few deep breaths and becoming aware of our thoughts and emotions. So first, let's get into a comfortable position, and if possible, close our eyes. Begin with a few deep breaths through our nose, and then out our mouth, exhale. To breathe in begin to bring awareness to your breathing. Notice the air going in and out. Notice any sensations. Observe how your stomach rises and falls as you breathe. Let's do a few rounds of this. So breathe in. Breathe out. After a few rounds of this, you may notice your mind wandering off. Maybe thoughts are popping in. That's okay, we can just acknowledge those thoughts, but bring your focus back to your breathing. Breathe in and breathe out. When we notice we are overwhelmed or stressed, we can engage in mindfulness and take a few deep breaths to focus on what we are experiencing in the moment. Now, when we're eating, we can try the following mindful eating exercise. So if you happen to have any food available, whether it is a snack or a single food item like a grape, you can try this out. And I recommend revisiting this video too if food is not available to you at the moment. So let's get comfortable and be sure to remove any distractions such as TVs or phones or any other screens so that we can just focus on the food we are about to enjoy. So before eating, we can begin with a few mindful breaths, taking a nice deep breath in and then exhaling. And we can begin asking ourselves, what does the food look like? What might it taste like? What color is it? What texture might it have? If it is a food item we can pick up and ask, what does it feel like? Notice any other thoughts you may have about the food item. Continue to take a few more mindful breaths. And when you're ready, close your eyes and bring the food to your nose and experience the aroma. Is it sweet, savory, subtle? Maybe it's a scent that is unfamiliar if you're trying a new food. And when you're ready, take a bite and acknowledge the flavors and textures you're noticing. As you're chewing and aerating it, move the food item around your mouth and continue and onto different areas of your tongue and notice if there are any changes to the flavor, and let those flavors sit with you before swallowing. And take as much time as you like with that. And when ready, go ahead and take another bite. And repeat the process until satisfied. And it's okay if this feels strange because we're often not used to eating or experiencing our food like this. The goal is to practice mindfulness like this when possible because there may be few opportunities where we can eat like this. But I would like to encourage you all to practice mindful eating when possible so that we can get into the habit of pausing for a moment and using our senses to interact with food in a mindful way. I recommend to start practicing mindful eating with the first bite of the meal, so it doesn't have to be for the entire meal. And throughout the meal, check in with yourself to ask if you are enjoying the meal, and if you want more, if you've had enough. So we can make it a habit to engage with food like this, so we can build a healthy relationship with food. Okay, so thank you for engaging in mindfulness with me. And now I would like to go over the challenges and concerns associated with mindful eating. And soon I'll go over tips to overcome these challenges so we can be better at incorporating mindfulness into our daily routine. For one, we are often in a fast-paced environment with a busy schedule. So commitments to work schedules, childcare responsibilities, and family commitments make it challenging to eat mindfully. Next, we may find ourselves in an environment that emphasizes productivity. So environments like this make it tempting to grab fast food or order delivery or eat convenient snacks while we work. Or we may not eat at all because we're so busy. We may be disconnected from hunger cues. We often might find ourselves going through a busy day and realize that it's been hours since we last ate. When we practice mindfulness, we can learn to respond to our body's natural ability to tell us that we need to eat. And lastly, will I gain weight? Probably not. When we learn to be mindful of our body's needs, we're also learning to eat what is right for us. On the other hand, mindful eating may also help with weight loss, but on its own, it will not guarantee that. But as a part of a healthy weight loss program, it is an effective strategy that empowers you to make healthy food choices. It also increases enjoyment of the eating experience and allows you to get in tune with your body's cue that tell you when you've had enough to eat so that you're not overeating. Now let's discuss further how we can practice mindful eating in our everyday lives. It may be challenging at first, but with a few modifications to our environment and changes to our thought process, we can be more mindful each day. First, ask and reflect. Before eating, ask yourself if you're hungry or thirsty. Ask yourself, what do I want to eat or drink? Then reflect on how you feel. Are you rushed, stressed, sad, or bored? Consider if you're actually hungry or just bored before eating or drinking. Next, easy access. So you want to keep nutritious food options such as fruits and vegetables readily available in cupboards or the refrigerator, or like to encourage mindful, healthy eating habits. Remember, being mindful involves being aware of what your body needs, that being things like whole grains, fruits, and vegetables, along with what foods you crave that may not be as nutritious but are enjoyable. Those foods are okay to eat too, because overall it's about balance. You can eat the foods your body needs to stay healthy along with fun foods that you enjoy. Next, you'll want to control portions. So don't eat from a large box or bag. Serve yourself a mindful portion that's right for you. It's so easy to have like a bag of chips and eat those until they're all gone. So portioning really helps you eat what is right for you, and if you want more, that's okay. Next, you want to eat when you're hungry. And this is an important one because you want to let your hunger cues guide you rather than your emotions. So use other coping methods such as physical activity in place of eating until you're actually hungry. Next, we want to slow down. So during each meal, when possible, you can engage in mindfulness just like how we did in the mindfulness activity by chewing slowly and savoring each bite. And you can practice eating mindfully daily by sitting down and avoiding distractions. During meals, you want to avoid multitasking and remove distractions from the table. This is important as it allows you to bring awareness to the food you are eating and also the cues your body is giving you. Okay, and I wanted to share this image I found as it illustrates the questions we should be asking ourselves when we're hungry to understand the why, when, what, and how much you eat. So this mindful eating cycle is like the questions that we should be asking ourselves. So you may ask yourself a question like, how often do I feel like eating and why? Now let's get into what intuitive eating is. And that is a non-dieting, hunger-based approach to changing your eating habits to become an intuitive eater. It is about trusting your body to make food choices that feel good to you without judging yourself or the influence of diet culture. It focuses on nurturing your body instead of starving it and the internal cues of hunger and fullness. So how does intuitive eating work? It is based on the 10 principles, which I will go over soon, that altogether allows for an individual to make peace with all types of food. Unlike traditional dieting that restricts or bans certain foods, intuitive eating requires you to stop viewing food as good or bad. Instead, you are listening to your body. This is where mindfulness comes in and how they're related. Being mindful allows you to connect with your intuition and listen to your body and eat what feels right for you. It is important to note that when eating intuitively, you also are letting go of the idea that you need to lose or gain weight so that you can look a certain way. The idea is to focus on foods that work best for you overall, physically, for your physical and mental health. The benefits of intuitive eating are that those who consistently eat intuitively may not lose weight as a result, but tend to have lower BMIs and better mental health. Eating intuitively also offers the benefit of a renewed relationship with food that is free of guilt or shame when eating certain foods, as well as a renewed respect for oneself about their body and being comfortable with who they are. So this image here kind of demonstrates like the differences of intuitive eating and mindful eating. So again, intuitive eating is more about connecting with like your hunger and your having more respect for your body, while mindful eating is more about the experience with food that you're having. Okay, so starting with principle 1, we need to reject the idea of diet mentality and recognize the harm diets cause. Even when we are not on a diet, we are constantly bombarded by pressure from social forces that affect our ability to eat intuitively, like advertisements for one, or from people we interact with. We begin to rely on external sources to guide our eating. We also need to recognize the traits and behaviors surrounding dieting, such as calorie counting, using measuring cups, and restriction that have harmed our relationship with food. Additionally, we need to rid ourselves of dieters' tools, magazine articles, and diet books that offer false hope of losing weight quickly and easily. If any of you have tried dieting in the past, you might have felt as if you were a failure every time a diet stops working and you gain back all the weight. And it's strange to think that in a country that has rampant diet culture, that more people would be occupying smaller bodies or be healthier. But in reality, we have seen a rise in cases of people with type 2 diabetes, obesity, and even childhood obesity. So we must stop and think, if dieting really worked, why is it that there continues to be an upward trend for these conditions? The next principle is to honor your hunger. This is where mindfulness comes in. We want to identify what that specific feeling is and then address it. Remember, a dieting body is a starving body, and that is not a good way to treat yourself. Otherwise, when it comes to it and your body needs to eat, it may trigger a primal drive to overeat. It is important to notice that the natural biological signals, which may be different for everyone, but this will allow you to rebuild trust in yourself and with food. A great way to think about your hunger is through a scale of 1 to 10, such as this hunger and fullness scale here. If we find that we're often at the extreme ends of the scale, we may need to take a moment and think about our relationship with food and if it is healthy, and reach out to a professional such as a registered dietitian for further support. So at around 3 or 4 on the scale is when we should begin noticing our hunger cues, and we should start eating and stop around 6 when you're satisfied. And it's okay if we sometimes go above or below this range, because not every day can be perfect. But we should strive to nurture our bodies as often as we can. Now, I want to also mention this idea of hunger silence. So things like caffeinated beverages, the chaos of life, stress, or dieting that make it difficult for us to be aware of our hunger. So these sort of things make it hard to really connect with ourselves to know where we are on the hunger scale. So that's something to keep in mind. Our next principle is to make peace with food. And what this means is that we need to give ourselves unconditional permission to eat. Because once we start to restrict, that may lead to deprivation, which can cause overeating and the feelings of guilt or shame once we give in to our natural desire to eat. So this image here on this slide, we see this cycle of restriction that often leads to overeating, and that once we overeat, we feel guilty about that. Now, I have an activity for you all that you can do on your own. So if you can pause now or come back to it later. So this activity will allow you to practice fostering a positive relationship with food so that restricted foods become just food to you and that there are no good or bad food. The goal is to view all foods neutrally without categorizing them and to promote a more balanced and mindful approach to eating. Okay, so our next principle is to challenge the food police. We need to challenge those thoughts that tell you that you are good or bad based on what you eat. Remember, when we label foods as bad, then there is guilt surrounding that. Food policing is negative and guilt-provoking, so this is where we can practice mindfulness and become aware of those sort of thoughts, such as I'm good for eating a piece of fruit, or that I'm bad because I ate a pastry, and respond by saying no to these thoughts, and that it is okay to eat foods that I enjoy and prefer. So much like we need to honor our hunger, we also need to respect our fullness. It is important that during meals we are eating mindfully and we eat without distractions, slow down, and confirm our decision to stop eating when we feel full and have had enough. Also, it is important to refer to the hunger scale and assess what your hunger level is throughout your meal so that you can avoid overeating. At the end of your meal, you can ask yourself if you have reached a comfortable level of fullness. Remember, there is no need to be a member of the Clean Your Plate Club. So again, using the scale, we want to notice our fullness around 6 or 7 so that we are not overeating, and then stop there. So the next principle is to discover the satisfaction factor. And this is more about the environment in which you're eating your meal. So when you eat food that you prefer in an inviting environment, you'll find that it takes much less food to make you feel satisfied. So we often overlook the pleasure and satisfaction that can be had through the eating experience. It's also important to add that we should be eating foods we enjoy, and if we don't enjoy them, then we don't have to eat them. The next principle is to cope with your emotions without using food. We need to find other ways to manage emotions in a healthy way. We all experience anxiety, loneliness, anger, and boredom throughout our lives. Just know that food won't fix any of these feelings. Food may offer temporary comfort or distraction, but ultimately, we need to find ways to get comfort, nurture, distract, and resolve our issues that don't involve food. We can cope with emotional eating by engaging in mindfulness and asking ourselves if we're actually hungry and need food. And we can meet our needs without food by seeking nurturance, which is emotional support, dealing with our feelings, or by finding a different distractions. So we could maybe try talking it out with someone you trust. The next principle is to respect your body. So be nice to yourself because we're all different in terms of our genetic blueprint. It is important to respect your body so you can feel better about who you are. It is also hard to reject the diet mentality if you are overly critical about your body. So how might we respect our bodies? To start, we can stop preparing for big events or by getting summer body ready. We can respect body diversity and uniqueness. We can be realistic. And most importantly, we want to be around those who build you up and don't engage in fat talk, that being a negative way about speaking about body size. The next principle is on the importance of exercise and how it makes you feel, rather than the calorie burning effect. So we should instead be focusing on the benefits of exercise, such as stress relief, building strength, or simply the fact that we are able to move our bodies. So don't associate exercise with weight loss because truly you can't out-exercise a dietary pattern that is not fueling the body correctly. The last principle is to honor your health with gentle nutrition. So we need to make food choices that honor our health and our taste preference. We need to make sure our body is nourished correctly, but remember, it is about the balance. And we do not need to eat a perfect diet to be healthy every day. What our body needs changes, and so should our diet. So it really doesn't need to be perfect every day. So you won't develop a nutrient deficiency or become healthy from eating one snack or a meal choice or even a whole day of eating. It's about the bigger picture of your diet and what you eat consistently over time that matters most. Remember, behavior change is about small lifestyle changes over time. So there are a few challenges associated with intuitive eating. For one, it is challenging. So we may be so used to diet culture that eating intuitively may feel like an uphill battle. So for some, they may require professional guidance to help navigate the nuance and dynamic nature of their intuitive eating journey. It may be necessary to reach out to a professional who specializes in intuitive eating if things get out of hand. Another challenge is having adequate support. So without support from friends and family, it may be difficult to stick to eating intuitively. Therefore, it becomes critical to find ways to support oneself by being surrounded by those who are positive, uplifting, understanding, and supportive as you make changes to your mindset. So remember, it's always easier to be healthy together. So find your people. So last challenge is, what if I want to lose weight? So without a doubt, focusing on body size while trying to be an intuitive eater and lose weight will be challenging. But that doesn't mean you can't work on incorporating the core principles into your eating habits. So on your weight loss journey, if you decide on doing so, be kind to yourself and focus on any of the 10 principles that speak to you. For example, by honoring your hunger, you can provide nourishment to your body and avoid starving yourself. Or by honoring your health with gentle nutrition, because it is important that we eat food that is nourishing and makes you feel good. Remember, the goal of intuitive eating has nothing to do with changing your body size, but by eating that way, some people may gain weight, lose weight, or stay the same as they're learning. Okay, so just remember that if you want to practice intuitive eating, an intuitive eater has these sorts of behaviors. So an intuitive eater has a non-diet mentality. They do not eat by the number. They eat whatever they choose without guilt. They listen to their body's hunger signal. They eat when hungry and stop when satisfied. They honor hunger and cravings. They are able to recognize when they're full. And they know how to argue the negative voice in their head that tells them that they're bad or good just based on what they eat. Okay, so thank you so much for taking the time to watch my seminar on mindful and intuitive eating. Remember to practice mindfulness throughout your day and to practice building a positive relationship with food and yourself by using the 10 principles. And if you need help, please reach out to a professional. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below. So I've also provided some additional resources that you can use to learn more about mindful and intuitive eating. And that's all. Thank you so much. Take care and be well.